Welcome to the third part of our Clear the Path series. I really hope that you have enjoyed this so far, and I'm excited to dive in to this last session, which is about a topic that comes up every time I talk to people about this idea of working on your business, which is the phrase, I don't have time. When we think about implementation, when we think about that final step of the AB method, which is all about taking and tracking your action, it is always a lack of time, a lack of ability to have the space to even do this that comes up for people. I remember really clearly a few months ago doing a talk at a conference and sharing with people the AB method and some of these kind of habits and tools for working on your business. It got to the Q&A section, someone raised their hand, and I could just tell as soon as they started speaking where it was going. They were basically telling me every reason that this wasn't going to work for them. And all of those reasons came back to, I don't have time. And I get it, right? Lack of time is one of, if not the most universal present issue for all of us as business owners or even just as humans. And I'm not interested in pretending that that challenge doesn't exist, but I am interested in us thinking about actually what we can do instead of that being the focus and how we give ourselves the ability to still follow this alongside work and time load feeling stretched. I think the first reminder I'd give here is that the working on the business stuff is hard, not because it's complicated or difficult. Hopefully, the AB method has showed you it's not actually crazy rocket science stuff. It's because it never feels urgent or important. You know, in the business stuff, it pays bills. People are emailing you asking you to do it. There's external accountability. There's a sense of a deadline with a lot of those things. So it's always going to feel like it needs to be at the top of the list. Nobody is going to prioritize you working on your business. And that is part of why it can be so hard to implement this. And that's genuinely why my program On It exists, is not because this stuff is complicated, but it's just hard to do consistently. So On It makes it easy to do. You just turn up for 2 hours a month, follow my prompts, and you've done what you needed to do. The simple truth is that as business owners, there is a direct correlation between our action and our results. And I don't know about you, but I find that incredibly exciting. Like, how privileged are we to have so much autonomy and control over what our workload looks like, over the impact we have, over what our day to day looks like? Yes, there are other factors at play. There will be other people's behavior, privilege, timing, luck, lots of different things. But we have so much control because we can control our actions and because as business owners, we have the ability to make changes. I find that incredibly exciting. It's why it gets me excited when people are thinking about working on their businesses more intentionally. So let's break down what it looks like to implement with a sense of ease. And I say ease instead of easy. It's never easy, but we can bring in ease. There are three kind of parts that we can think about to implementation. The first part, nice and simple, but as with all of this, doesn't mean it's easy, which is taking the action. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making, and I've made it myself, it's so easy to do, is deciding that a strategy, a plan, a goal has failed before we even give it the time it needs to succeed. I don't know if any of you can self-identify where that's happened for you. You know, we say we want to start something new, start a new project, work towards a goal. We maybe give it a few days, maybe even a few weeks or months. And because we're not seeing the results that we want, we decide, well, it's failed, it's not working. And then we kind of think, okay, I need a new plan, a shiny new thing. Actually, so often we're just not giving things the consistency of action they need to really work. And that is where taking action is the most important thing. There's a few home truths I want to walk us through here, which are not about calling us out or giving us this tough love for the sake of it, but just being really honest about what's true here. The first is that when it comes to taking action, it is not about finding time, it's about making time. Because the in the business stuff always feels more urgent, more important, there will never naturally be these chunks of time available to us to work on our businesses. We as the business owner have to work out how we make the time, the systems, the processes that we can bring in place in order to put aside small chunks of time for taking the action. A lot of people tend to think, oh, I need a whole day a week or a whole morning a week or a whole week in the month even to work on my business. And I think we're being a bit overambitious there. A lot of the time, it's really just about having action time that's small but regular. 20 minutes here, half an hour there. It feels bitty, but it adds up. So, firstly, it's about making time, not finding it. The second truth I want to remind us of here is that nobody is going to grow our businesses for us, and nobody cares as much as you do. Your clients, your customers, they're not going to email you or nag you to do this stuff, to work on your goals, to cast vision, to track your progress, because it's not important to them, but it's important to you. And that is why it's important that your vision is something you're actually excited by, because that's naturally going to give you a sense of drive and self-discipline and motivation to want to get this stuff done. You've got to be the one that cares the most. It's got to come from you. And speaking of, the third thing I'd share as well is that you are in control. Again, such an exciting and a huge privilege to have as business owners is we do have a lot of autonomy. And you absolutely have the power to take your business where you want it to go. Will that journey at points feel long, feel sticky, feel difficult? Absolutely. But can it be done? Also, absolutely. So the question I want you to reflect on today as we talk about this idea of kind of making the time and making this a priority is, where can you make time to work on your business? Maybe you want to do a calendar audit. Have a little look at the last few days, the last few weeks. Where are you spending your time? Maybe you want to be brave and look at your screen time on your phone. How much time is being spent scrolling or on apps that maybe aren't linked with your goals? I think if we're really honest with ourselves, there are pockets of time available to us, but maybe we're just not aware of them, or they're not being used as intentionally as they could. I know that the time might not be screaming at you in your diary of, oh, there's loads of time free to me to work on my business. But I bet if you do a little bit of reflection, if you do a little bit of an audit of your schedule and your time, maybe even time track for a day or two, you can see where you could make some time to work on your business more. 20 minutes here, half an hour there, a couple of hours. Where can you make time to work on your business? That's the first question for you to answer today. And moving forwards to then be able to give you your second question to answer for today, another really big part of implementation is finding the right tools. When I say tools, what I mean is habits, behaviors, frameworks, mindsets, the things that we can have in our toolbox to help ourselves as business owners, whether that be accountability, calendar blocking, breaking things down into small steps, putting a tracker or a plan on our wall, having distraction-free work time, putting a timer on and doing the Pomodoro method. There's so many, productivity hacks and tricks out there. And I know it can get overwhelming, but they're all amazing tools that we can have in our toolbox to help us with this implementation and action taking. So I want you to reflect as your second prompt for today on what might support you in taking action on your business. What tools are in your toolbox that you could use to help yourself follow the AB method intentionally? Is it about calendar blocking for you so that this time is set aside? Is it about having things be really visible and making some kind of tracker for yourself? Is it about having a bit more routine and boundaries within your day, or perhaps setting boundaries with clients or team to carve out more time for yourself? Again, let's remember that we are in control. You have the ability to implement these things to help yourself. So that is your action step for today. As we think about that third step of the AB method, it's all about taking and tracking action. I want you to reflect on where this might be available to you in terms of time and what tools might support you. I want to round this off with a reminder of our key principles and a new one as well. The first one being, don't be afraid to be seen trying. When it comes to taking and tracking action, I think this principle is the most important. Taking external action can feel scary. We can be worried about what people are going to think or how something's going to land. It can be very vulnerable to try to achieve a goal. But that vulnerability, that feeling of being seen trying, is what leads to growth. I love the phrase of don't be afraid to run for the bus. I want to be someone that isn't afraid to run for the bus, that isn't afraid to go after something they want, even if I might look or feel a bit embarrassed in the process. Achieving goals is all about not being afraid to be seen trying. And so that's the first principle I want to remind you of. The second principle, when we talked about in the last part, that you know your business best. This method, this approach that I'm sharing with you, yes, it works. It really does. but the application of it, the way that it works for you, is going to be unique. So trust yourself, trust that you know your business best, you know your vision and your plans best. And the final one, again, very key for implementation, is to value that bounce back rate over consistency. That third step of the AB method about taking and tracking action is really about embracing that goal of consistency, but also that goal of bounce back rate, where, hey, even when we lose consistency, we don't decide we're a bad business owner, we don't give up, we just decide that we're human and we bounce back as quickly as we can. Successful business owners, people I know doing amazing things, they are not the most consistent, they're the most persistent. And that is why we value bounce back rate over consistency. So in this third and final part, 5-minute action step for you is to identify where you can make time to work on your business and what might help you with that. Head to the Google Doc to fill that one out. And the bonus next step I would give you as well is to get excited about joining Onnit for 2026 and following this method with ease. As you've hopefully learned in this 3-part series, working on your business doesn't have to be complicated. It's not rocket science. It's probably things that you've heard before, but it's doing it consistently and intentionally that is the hardest. And that is why Onnit exists. 2 hours per month, come to the calls, watch them replayed, and I will facilitate this work for you. You're not going to listen to me for 2 hours. You're going to sit and actually implement so that you have the vision, you have the strategic goals, and you're taking the action and tracking progress. You give me the time, I will make sure that everything else is done. It has been the best thing I've ever created, and I say that with such confidence, and I'm really excited for 2026. You'll already be first in line, but if you have any questions about it, let me know. Keep an eye on your emails for more information. And I really hope that you've found this 3-part series helpful. My final parting words to you is to do it for future you. That's what all of this work is about, right? Working in your business is all about current you. Working on your business is all about future you. Your future self will be so grateful that you engaged in this 3-part series, that you took the action. Your future self is going to be glad that you are thinking about growth in this way. So already take a moment to thank yourself for making the time for this, for taking the action. Make sure to thank yourself once you've taken the action steps off this final part as well. And I'm continually cheering you on. Would love to hear any feedback, how you found this series, and I can't wait to share more about Onnit with you.